Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Artists First World Radio Network, home of the best new music you've never heard, and home of the best new talk shows you need to hear. Please don't forget to visit our archive page at www.artistfirst.com, where you can hear all our past shows for free and on demand. You are tuning into High School Football America. This show airs at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. For more information about this show and to listen to past shows, please visit artistfirst.com/jefffisher.htm. And now here's your host of High School Football America, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. Good evening, high school football fans. September is here. Couldn't tell it in Chicago, though. A balmy 95 degrees today, but welcome to High School Football America tonight. Hard to believe, but this is week 4 of the regular season games. More great interstate games coming up this week, plus we'll look back at some of the big ones last weekend. Regular season beginning this weekend in 10 more states. Joining the party, Arkansas, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Washington. And plenty of games on tap tonight, including the I-95 Classic going on in the Baltimore, D.C. area. So don't forget to check out highschoolfootballamerica.com for all of your Thursday night scores from around the country. Of course, we do the same thing Friday, Saturday, this week, Sunday night, and also Monday, because we have a full slate of games with the Labor Day holiday weekend. And remember, you can keep up to date with news from around the country, from every state, by going to the High School Football Wire at highschoolfootballamerica.com. Every day we update everything. You can also follow High School Football America on Facebook and Twitter. Just go to the website and click on the icons. If you don't like to do that, the handle for Twitter is HSFB America. And you can also search on Facebook High School Football America, and you'll find the page there, and click like, and you'll be part of the crowd. Now on to who's on tonight's show. We'll start the show in my home state of Pennsylvania with a chat with Pennsylvania. It's number 1 team in 4A, Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Head coach Terry Totten will join me. This weekend, the Vikings, who are number 1 in the 4A classification, taking on Archbishop Wood from Philadelphia, who's the number 1 team in 3A, in a game that will be broadcast on Sunday on ESPN2. Then we'll go next door to the Buckeye State to talk with Colerain's Tom Bolden, whose Cardinals knocked off 3-time defending Florida 2A champ Coco on national television over the weekend. The Cincinnati-area power, Colerain we're talking about, considered one of the top teams in Ohio's Division I. And we'll then go from major cities to really, really small and talk about 6- and 8-man teams in Montana and Wyoming. And I'll chat with photographer Morgan Tyree, who has just released a book called Temples, Where the Game is Played, and it's a great book with some great photographs from some wonderful places out in Wyoming and Montana. Again, it's Labor Day weekend, so we'll be working hard all weekend long on highschoolfootballamerica.com to get you all the schools and stories, the scores and stories, I should say. And we want to thank our sponsors, as always. Blitz Group along for the ride tonight, doing our media strategy. Go to blitzgroupllc.com. The High School Rudy Awards also here tonight, honoring inspirational high school football players. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com to learn more on how to nominate a player. And also sponsored tonight by the National High School Coaches Association. To learn more about membership and the great things that they do at the NHSCA, go to nhsca.com. And if you'd like a media kit to learn about sponsorship opportunities on High School Football America, please email me at jeff@highschoolfootballamerica.com. Well, all right, time to get things cranking. When we come back, High School Football America heads to the Steel City. We're going to talk with Pittsburgh Central Catholic head football coach Terry Totten about his team's big showdown with Archbishop Wood, and who's coming all the way across the Keystone State to face the Vikings. This is High School Football America on the Artists First Radio Network.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life. You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you could make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life. The Navy Seahawk helicopter has a lift capacity of over 6,000 pounds. But when it comes to helping those around the world who need it most, they lift the hopes of millions. To learn more about how the Navy is the best place to do great things, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. It will do you and the world a load of good. Navy. Accelerate your life.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
You know, if you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Call the American Heart Association or visit our website to learn more.
And now back to High School Football America with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey, and welcome back. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll be joined by Colerain head football coach out of Ohio, Tom Bolden. Plus, we're going to talk with award-winning photographer Morgan Tyree, who's just released a book with an incredible group of photographs of 6- and 8-man football in small towns in Montana and Wyoming. Now, we know Pittsburgh's not a small town, and we do know one thing, though. High school football in and around the Steel City is huge. Our first guest is the leader of one of the city's top teams, year in and year out. Pittsburgh Central Catholic right at the top of the list, and Terry Totten is entering his 7th season with the Vikings and took them to the 4A championship in 2007, and Coach joins us right now. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a Pennsylvania guy, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So with the season opening, I really wanted to get you on here and talk about this. I know the pleasure that it is to watch football in Western Pennsylvania, and I think most people around the country do, but I think maybe that's where we'll start a little bit and educate our listeners to what it's like to be a head football coach in Western Pennsylvania at a top school. So can you paint us a little bit of a picture?
Yeah, I'm extremely honored. The tradition here is fantastic. The rivalries are very intense. So many of the great college players and NFL players come back and stay connected to their high school programs. And it just creates a situation where generation after generation follows their high school and looks for this year's team and what they're doing and who are the stars of that team and where they go on to college, and they continue to follow them through the college ranks and a lot of times around here into the National Football League. So it is truly a great atmosphere around here, and every community takes a lot of pride in their high school football team.
Yeah, there's some decent names, the Namaths, the Montanas, and Dorsets. It goes on and on and on. So let's talk a little bit about the tradition at Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Central Catholic has a long one. You're an alum there. So tell the people a little bit about how the football fits into the fabric of the school and then the community around it.
Definitely. We're very proud of the football tradition here at Central. It's been 5 or 6 state champions. Of course, some great players, Dan Marino in the Hall of Fame, Mark Bulger, an all-pro quarterback with the St. Louis Rams. Stefan Wisniewski is currently starting for the Oakland Raiders. Jeff Dugan starts at tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, and then we have a bunch of our ex-guys at Northwestern and over at Pitt and Syracuse. So we keep pretty busy on Saturdays and Sundays around here, keeping track of the former guys, and they all stay in touch with the program, as well as many, many others. We like to think our football program does fit into the mission of the school at Central Catholic, which is developing the mind, the body, and the spirit of young men. It's a very academic school. It's a very disciplined school. And it's a nice melting pot of people here right in the heart of Oakland, so we're proud to be associated with the school.
Let's turn our attention to 2011, which kicks off for you guys on Sunday. You know, you've got some great talent returning. That's why a lot of people who do those polls that get all you coaches worked up with the bullseye in your chest say that you're one of the top teams in the state. You've got a good quarterback in Perry Hills, a wide receiver, Anthony Nixon. Both have made verbal commitments to Maryland. So tell the listeners a little bit about that duo.
Great combination. They've been playing together it'll be their 3rd year now. Both two-star, two-sport athletes. Perry, believe it or not, is a nationally ranked caliber wrestler at the 190 thing, and Anthony Nixon is a great track runner. But they're both great students, great leaders, and off the field, people that I'm very glad I'm associated with. And on the field, they're just the first guys out, the last guys in. They work very hard at their craft, and I think you're going to see big things out of both of them.
Last year, Hills was 84 of 153 for over 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. Nixon, 33 passes caught, 699 yards and 3 scores. You also have some talent coming back at running back, I understand. Damian Jones-Moore, averaging over 6 yards a carry last year. What sort of role does he play in this offensive attack for you this year?
We're definitely a tailback-oriented offense. We run the ball. I would say we're in the 65-35, 70-30 range. So he's our franchise guy a lot of the times, and he's a great kid. He has MAC offers, Toledo and University of Ohio, and I think he is on the verge of receiving some BCS offers. He's moved up very quickly on the running back chart here. We've had some great ones. Eugene Jarvis was out at Kent, and he's a similar type back. He's a short guy, but not a little guy by any means. He's very explosive in the weight room, a very thickly built kid. Catches the ball well out of the backfield, works every day on his block, and another kid that I just can't say enough about as a person, a student, a leader, a good team guy. So some college is going to get a very pleasant surprise when they land him.
And we know that the skill guys can't do anything without the offensive line. I know you had to replace 3 starters. I think I read in one of the paper reports on you. So you had some work in the preseason to get that line together. So how did it come together during camp?
It's getting better by the day. Our right tackle, Logan Beats, has been offered by West Virginia, Akron, Bowling Green, and a few others. And he's a kid who put on 25, 30 good pounds in the weight room and is carrying that well. He's flirting with a lot more big offers. He's the kind of kid you like. He's 6'6", has the frame to be a 300-pounder, has the long arms for pass blocking, and the good feet that you look for. So he has been a big asset to us. Our center, Scott Harris, he'll be a 3-year starter. He's 6'2", 270, and he's a tremendous student, as is Logan. They're both 4-point-plus kids. And Scott's goal is the Ivy Leagues, who are all recruiting him, as well as a lot of the Patriot Leagues. So he looks like he's in good form. And our left tackle, Jake Walter, will be his first start on the offensive line. He started for some defense last year. He's 6'4", 275. He's been offered by UMass, another fantastic student. These guys take these weighted courses around here and end up above 4.0s, and it amazes me because
makes you look good, Coach, when you got smart guys like that.
Yeah, except I don't think our whole coaching staff added together ever had a 4.0.
Well, I'm talking with Terry Totten tonight from Central Catholic in Pittsburgh, a great program from Pennsylvania. And I went offense first, but I know you're a defensive guy. You love it. You were the defensive coordinator on a couple of state championship teams, or one of them, and a runner-up, and then you won the championship in 2007. I remember that chain gang when I was living back in Pennsylvania and how good it was. So tell me about this year's defense.
I have a lot of returners at the linebacker and secondary. We flip Anthony over to play safety. Jawan Haynes on one corner has been offered by Kent State and Toledo. He also is not committed yet. He is a 6', 180 long lockdown corner that supports the run very well also. On the other corner, we have Eddie Latimer, who ended up making some all-state teams last year based on 7 interceptions. So that unit's probably as good as we've lined up around here in a while. Outside linebacker, I have Louis Taglianetti, his brother, starting over at Pitt at safety. He's a different kind of player, a little bigger, but the same knack for the football that we like. And Arnell Farmer is just an explosive kid playing the other outside linebacker, and we're looking for him to be a good edge player for us. Inside, I have the third Lockery brother that I've coached. One plays up at Lehigh, and one went to Columbia. This kid is probably the best of the 3, and he's only a junior and another fantastic student. So I'm hoping that he pulls the interest of the Dukes and the Virginias and the Northwesterns. And I have another good one inside, and Gavin Sandage, who I've had trouble keeping on the field a bit based on some injuries, but he looks like he's primed and ready to go. Another fantastic student who I think will end up in the Ivies or the Patriot League. And up front, Jake Walther will go back to his spot. He's been offered as a college player on defense, so we feel good there. Logan Dietz will flip over to play one of the ends. And the other two guys are getting their first starts, but I have big hopes for Zach DeLuca, another great wrestler, but 6'2", 220 pounds at one end. And so although a few guys are making their first start on that side of the ball, we're hoping we can hopefully contain it with our skill people outside and be a good unit.
Yeah, well, we talked about the great strength of Western Pennsylvania football. Wrestling is not bad in the state either, as you just mentioned there. Now let's go to this cupcake schedule you're starting off with here as you take on Archbishop Wood, the number 1 team in 3A in the state. You're going to match up on Sunday on ESPN2. They've got, I think, I read 5 or 6 Division I prospects. So what made you lose your mind and schedule a big game like this to come out of the blocks?
Yeah, it was between them and Don Bosco Prep, and I'm starting to think I picked the worst of the two. They're a tremendous football team. They have 6 BCS committed kids. They're well coached. They do a lot of things offensively very, very well. And I've played some great one-dimensional offenses. Played against Shady McCoy at Divot a couple years back. But this is an offense that does a lot of things very well, and those kids flip over and play defense also. Very, very talented group of kids, and we know we're in for a battle, and we're honored to be playing in this game, and we know we're in there with a great one.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch, especially since I'm living out here in Chicago now, so I'll have the popcorn ready to watch that one a little bit. Let's kind of wrap up things here with some of the keys this year. What are some of the things that you have to do right to not only and we didn't even talk about this, making it through the WPIAL playoffs, but getting a real decent shot at going to Hershey?
Well, I'm a big guy on you got to run the ball, stop the run, don't make mistakes in the kicking game. You'll be in a lot of football games. But, although there are holes on this team, although we have a good team, there are holes. Every high school's got them. And what you hope is the kids step up into those holes, and that will happen, and then you'll get some disappointments from some guys you were counting on. But that's the essence of high school football. And I always believe it's a chemistry thing. The kids enjoy being together, working together with passion, and believing in a goal and a mission. And you got a pretty good start on things if you can get them to that point. So, of course, you want to stay injury-free, and hope you get a couple breaks along the way. But it's a grind, and you're going to need all of those things to end up there up in Hershey.
Yeah, and then the last question, because Hershey is the state championship game, but to kind of back up, you're talking about getting the kids to work. Pennsylvania has changed its rules a little bit on spring practice and letting the kids be with you a little bit more during the summer. How has that helped you get ready for this season?
Well, we're pretty sane about it. I mean, you're allowed to be in uppers, and as long as there's a pad between you, you can bump each other around. But I'm a believer in kids should be kids and play other sports in the summer, but certainly we get together and lift weights and run, and we get out and do some football. But I try and keep it to a reasonable limit. It's a tough season when you get into it. Hopefully you're looking at a 12 or 13 game season, and that's enough of a grind. But we certainly put the time in. We try and stay reasonable about it with the kids, and so that's led us to the preparation for our summer camp, which we thought was a pretty good physical camp. So we're battening down some hatches here and pulling some things together and hopefully prepared for an opening game.
Well, best of luck on Sunday against Archbishop Wood. It will be a game on ESPN2, and good luck throughout the season. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight.
Oh, thanks, Ed. We appreciate the coverage. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. That is Pittsburgh Central Catholic head football coach Terry Totten. Like I said, big game coming up. Number 1 in 4A, which is the biggest classification in Pennsylvania, versus number 1 in 3A. It's Pittsburgh Central Catholic and Archbishop Wood on ESPN2 on Sunday. So check that one out. When we take a break, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to head a little bit further west to the Buckeye State for a stop in Cincinnati to talk with Colerain's Tom Bolden. His team made some national noise last week on national television. Cardinals snapping Cocoa, Florida's 38-game win streak. You are listening to High School Football America, your ticket. That is all high school football in America. This is the Artist First Radio Network.
The hottest technology in the world isn't being developed in Silicon Valley. In the United States Navy, more top-secret technologies are being created than ever before. Incredible machines made of stealth materials that fly by themselves. The only problem with these incredible technologies? It's a shame the enemy can't see them. To learn more, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life. You've heard of being named All-Conference, but only one organization has earned the classification of being All-World: the United States Navy. Whether it's humanitarian efforts, fighting terrorism, or protecting America's freedoms, the Navy is the team that helps us all win big. To learn how you could make it to the big league, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. Navy, accelerate your life. The Navy Seahawk helicopter has a lift capacity of over 6,000 pounds. But when it comes to helping those around the world who need it most, they lift the hopes of millions. To learn more about how the Navy is the best place to do great things, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. It will do you and the world a load of good. Navy, accelerate your life.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
You know, if you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Call the American Heart Association or visit our website to learn more.
I'm a good driver. I look for cars. I pay attention. I should have seen the little girl in the crosswalk.
Please, look for pedestrians. Stop for them. Think of the impact you could make. A message from the Federal Highway Administration.
And now back to the show with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Welcome back to High School Football America. Don't forget you can keep up with us throughout the season, get all the scores throughout the weekend. Just go to our Twitter handle, which is HSFB America, or on Facebook. Just check us out at High School Football America. Click on the icons and you can join us. Next week, we're on the road, High School Football America, in Lowell, Michigan, outside of Grand Rapids for the Pink Arrow Pride Game. Going to talk about a tiny town of 4,000 that has raised $750,000 for cancer to support the cancer people, the victims in their community there. A little tiny town was there last year, and it's a great story, so tune in next week. We began the show in Pittsburgh talking with Terry Totten of Central Catholic. Now we're going to head a little bit west. These two states like to play a little football against each other and call the Big 33 game in the middle of the summer. But right now we're going to talk all Ohio football with head football coach Tom Bolden of Colerain High School in the Cincinnati area. Last Sunday, Coach Bolden and his team showed a national television audience on ESPN that there's some pretty darn good football in the Buckeye State, beating three-time defending Florida champ Cocoa 17-7, snapping the Tigers' 38-game win streak. And welcome to the show, Coach, and congratulations on a huge win on Sunday.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was an awesome experience for our kids, our community, and the city of Cincinnati and the great state of Ohio. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
Well, we're excited to have you here, and I think before we look ahead, let's just look back a little bit. I got to imagine because of the bright lights of ESPN and then a big win over a very good football team, things are still exciting around there. So what was it like since Sunday? What's it been like during the week at the school?
Well, there's been a lot of buzz, obviously, but it's been a quick turnaround for us because we play tomorrow night, so we had a short week as far as preparation and things like that. And, it's just the life of a head coach and a coach in football where, I probably enjoyed Sunday evening for a few hours and went home and spent a little time with my wife and kids and gave them a hug and kiss and head back out the door, came up to school and started working on film for our next opponent this week. So going to be a fast turnaround, but it's definitely exciting. Football season around here in the fall is definitely a great time to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got 9 regular season games to go, so you don't win any state championships in week 1, that's for sure. So let's, before we get into this year's team, I'd love to give the listeners a little bit of a history lesson on the football tradition at the various schools that I talked to. So let's talk a little Colerain history. Give the listeners how kind of the tradition of football fits into the school and where the community wraps its arms around it, too.
Yeah, it's we are the largest township actually in the great state of Ohio, here. And what happens is public school, up to 1,800, almost 1,900 kids in enrollment. And we've been playing pretty good football here for a long time. We've been fortunate enough in about the last 15 years plus that in some type of national poll, whether it be USA Today, ESPN, Prep Nation, things like that, to be ranked. We've got feeder systems all the way to our middle schools down to our Little Cards youth program. And it's kind of one of those things around here where Friday nights are very special. The community kind of rallies around, and we'll have about 10,000 people here at home games. And our stadium's a nice little setup. It sits down into a little bowl-like, and people sit on the hills, and the reserve seating and the reserve parking. And it's just an excellent atmosphere. And we've won a lot of ball games here in the last 20 years or so, but, just give you a general idea, we've won our league title the last 12 years in a row. And, so I'd say in the last 12 years, I think we have lost a total of 13 games maybe. So, we get after it pretty good, and we take great pride in what we do.
Yeah, and hard to beat you on your home turf. I think the win streak's at 60 at home right now.
Yeah, we haven't lost at home since 1999.
That doesn't make it good for an opposing coach to plan against playing a road game. But before we get into the team, I also want to let the listeners know that you're not beating cupcakes either. You've got some darn good football teams in the Cincinnati area. Of course, it goes all the way back, I guess, to when Coach Jerry Faust was big at Moeller, and then you've got Elder, St. Xavier has come along. You've got them in a couple of weeks. So talk a little bit about the Cincinnati area football in general.
Yeah, it's tremendous to say the least. I mean, it's we went for a period there where I think it was 5 or 6 years in a row that Colerain, Elder, and St. X, who are all within 20 minutes of one another, we were all 3 ranked in the top 25 for 6 years in a row, according to USA Today. So, that's a pretty good concentration, a great concentration of football. You had the dominant Moeller teams of the 70s, and there's a greater Catholic league here that involves Moeller and Elder and St. X, and it's tremendous football to say the least. And we take great pride in being able, as a public school here, to compete against private schools and get after it. And the way our playoff system's set up here in the state of Ohio, it's all based on a computer. It's kind of like the BCS, who you beat and who they beat and things like that. And it's difficult to schedule games. And ourselves, along with those schools that I mentioned, a lot of times we have to go out of state. We have to travel all around the state, and we have to end up playing one another. We've been fortunate enough since 2005. We played in the Herb Street event where, we beat a team from Tyler Lee out of Texas. We beat a couple teams from Pennsylvania. We beat the Hoover, Alabama team via the MTV fame, and fortunate enough to beat the team from Florida. And that's a lot like what St. X and the other teams have to do, play a lot of out-of-town teams, the way our playoff system's set up. But there is a great concentration of football here in Southwest Ohio in the Cincinnati area, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have flown that Ohio Buckeye flag pretty proudly against a lot of other good football states out there. Let's talk about this team. One kid that got a lot of airtime on Sunday is actually your nephew, someone you're pretty familiar with. He's linebacker Joe Bolden. So let's kind of start there with him, what it's like to coach him, and how good an athlete is he? I guess he's verbal to Michigan at this point, right?
Yeah, it's a thrill to coach. Anytime you can coach family, but coaching my nephew, it's a special feeling. And there's 5 more Boldens coming up. I have 3 sons coming up through the system and 2 more nephews. So there'll be a lot of Boldens here playing football for a long time. But it's been a special treat. Joe's he's a hard worker. I mean, he's a kid. He plays like he practices. He practices like he plays. He's 1,000 miles per hour. He's been blessed with a lot of speed, a lot of toughness. He's about 6'2.5", almost 6'3", about 225, 230 pounds, depending on what he eats for dinner and whatnot. But But, a lot of college coaches that, had offered him and things like that had referred to him as an athletic throwback. He makes all our checks for us at our middle linebacker position. He can get sideline to sideline, but he's a physical kid. He will step up and take a shot on you any chance he gets. And he also punts for us. He threw a pass on against Coco, a fake punt that on a 4th 11 that set up a touchdown for us, and had 4 punts inside the 10. And he can do a lot of things. With a tremendous heart and a great kid, and I just don't only say that as an uncle, but as a as his head coach.
Yeah, well, then he did play a heck of a ball game on Sunday. Let's talk about some of the other kids that you expect some things out of, and maybe now that you've had a chance to look at the film of Sunday's game, who maybe kind of stepped up and gave you a big game or a nice game that you weren't really expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Defensively, we've got some guys. We're really excited about where we're at defensively because, along with Joe, we have Jake Bluss, who's been a 3-year starter for us. He played some D tackle. We're a 50 slant mangle, so we have some down guys that can play up and things like that. But Jake's playing outside linebacker for us, returning 3-year starter, and David Moore, we're starting 2-year starters at the other outside, and we got a young man in the middle with Joe by the name of T. Gray Scales, who's just a sophomore who's one of those pleasant surprises. And then up front, we're big and we're athletic. We have Trey Clark, who has numerous offers from SEC schools and Big Ten schools, who stands almost 6'4", and he's about 335, 340, and he plays our nose guard, and he clogs up that middle. And we've got 3 other guys that we rotate at the D tackle position that are big and athletic. And our secondary is really solid. We have Dylan Combs, a returning starter at corner, whose dad, Kerry Combs, who used to be the head coach here that I took over from, that's now the associate head coach at the University of Cincinnati. And we have Andre Jones, who's an early verbal at the University of Cincinnati, who's 6'2", 200 pounds, and very athletic at the safety position. And so our defense, our motto here is always run fast and hit hard, and we definitely do that. And then on the offensive end of the side of the ball, we've got a lot back up front offensively, and we had a quarterback and who was a player of the year in Cincinnati that we've had to replace, and a young man by the name of Alfred Ramsey. He stepped in for him, and he was put to the test this weekend against the fast Coco team, and we've been running the triple option here for 20 years, so it's not easy to get all those reads down, but he's been a pleasant surprise. And the young man who played fullback, who was actually MVP of the game, that had 2 touchdowns, was one of the quarterbacks in the mix that we moved to fullback by the name of Jackson Soren. And then both of our wingbacks are back, and Curtis Chester and Chris Davis, who's been with us as a freshman. And we've got a young man. We've got a tight end that's 6'5", 6'6", 245 pounds, really athletic. And outside on the edge, we've got a sophomore who's probably one of the most athletic kids we've had in a while. He stands 6'3", 210 pounds, and can really run and go get a football. So I'm really excited about what we got going on. If we stay healthy and take care of the football, some big things should happen this year.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch the Division I playoffs, that's for sure. And before I let you go here, when I get a chance to talk to a school that it's a coach at a public school that's doing well, I had this last week with John Harrington over at Farmington Hills outside of Detroit.
Absolutely.
He's nationally ranked. And what I was going to ask you is, there's been a lot of talk in Ohio and other states about separating now the private versus the public. You guys are obviously on the other side doing very, very well in that situation. How do you feel about, competing with the privates at this point? I know there was a vote in Ohio. It was denied this time around, but the votes are getting closer and closer.
Sure. I can tell you this. I love competing against those guys. I love getting after those schools. They're really good at what they do, and we take great pride in getting after them. But I'd be lying to you if I told you it doesn't get any easier year after year competing against them. They just have some resources and things that we're limited to. Like say here in Southwest Ohio, those greater Catholic schools that are down here, they can recruit all over Southwest Ohio as far as getting their kids in from anywhere. We've got to play with what we got here in our area, and then. For example, there's teams down here. Steve Speck's a great friend of mine at St. X, and we'll play week 3, and we'll both be nationally ranked, getting after it, and it'll be a big game here week 3. But I told Steve all the time, I tease him, he's got 85 seniors on his football team. 125 on his freshman, 125 on a sophomore team, and just from a scout team perspective alone, think about it. I have 15-year-old sophomores trying to give us a look on scout team where he has 18-year-old grown men that are seniors that from a physical standpoint can give him a much better look.
Right.
And the number of coaches and the resources and being able to get kids from all over, it's increasingly more difficult. Now, we ain't going to shy away from anybody and things like that, but I can understand where some people are looking to go in that direction. And, I always said this, if it ended up going that direction and I knew we were going to make the playoffs every year, I would still play against those schools in our non-league games because I think it makes for great football here in the city of Cincinnati and the state of Ohio.
Sure, you want to always compete against the best. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. We've been talking with Tom Bolden at Colerain High School, and good luck the rest of the way. It was fun watching you the other day, and you've got a great program there, and I've learned a lot by reading about you. So best of luck the rest of the way in 2011.
Hey, I appreciate it. It was great spending time with you, and I can't thank guys like you enough that that do what you do for high school football and for sports in general and all that. Keep doing what you're doing. We got a great deal of respect for it, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Good luck the rest of the way, Coach. I really appreciate those
take
words.
Care.
Okay,
Thanks.
take care.
Take care.
Yep. That is head coach of Colerain, Tom Bolden, whose team beat Cocoa over the weekend on national television. A big game coming up in 2 weeks again. St. X, two nationally ranked teams there in the Cincinnati-area. So lots of great football being played there. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little 6- and 8-man football. That's right. We're going from the big guys to the little guys. We're going to talk with a photographer who has snapped some wonderful photographs out in the Wyoming and Montana area when it comes to 6- and 8-man football. And we're going to talk to Morgan Tyree when we come back on High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
If you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Call the American Heart Association or visit our website to learn more.
I'm a good driver. I look for cars. I pay attention. I should have seen the little girl in the crosswalk.
Please, look for pedestrians. Stop for them. Think of the impact you could make. A message from the Federal Highway Administration.
And now back to the show with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you, Corey. Welcome back to High School Football America. Been to Pennsylvania and Ohio so far. Terry Totten from Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Big game against Archbishop Wood on ESPN2 on Sunday. And we also, just a few moments ago, hung up with Tom Bolden at Colerain, the big win over Cocoa from Florida over the weekend on ESPN. And, I love big-time football. It's the greatest, but you know me. I'm like a grizzly bear when it comes to, finding these small-town stories. And I think it was like back in 2006, I just keep reading the Internet, thousands of stories a day, and I came across this very cool blog called Small Town Football, and I was immediately, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, taken by photos and short essays by Morgan Tyree, who was capturing 6- and 8-man football in Montana and Wyoming, and Morgan has now just released a book called Temples, Where the Game is Played, and I'm pleased to have him on the show right now. So, Morgan, welcome in.
Thank you, Professor Fisher.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm going to take that as a good thing. I'm a big Springsteen fan, and the piano player is the professor, so that now I'm feeling really good.
That's right.
Let's talk about this. And I said how I kind of stumbled across it, and I just love these photographs, and I want to talk about them as we go through. But I really want to kind of give people an idea of who you are and how you came across this, because I don't think there's a whole lot of people walking around in Montana and Wyoming with a camera and taking photographs of 6- and 8-man football. So take us back to the beginning and how you got started in all this.
Well, it probably was Byron, Wyoming, and a friend of mine had a son playing there, and Byron is one of the smaller schools in the state, and even though at that time they played 11-man, and it was definitely just a different atmosphere, a different feel, and it just reminded me a lot of some of the stories my father used to tell me when he played football back in the 40s. So that's how it kind of got started there.
Yeah, I was going to say, and can you kind of explain for the listeners a little bit that have never been to that part of the country, and there are a lot of people that haven't been to that part, just how beautiful it is and what these schools and towns are like? I mean, we're not, again, I just talked to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, we're talking of towns that are, under 500. High school enrollment, 9 through 12, is typically under 100, for all 4 grades. And, a lot of these towns and their football fields are right out in the edge of town. So, what I really seek out of those places that really have that wide open space beyond the gridiron and maybe with the backdrop of some mountain range or something like that. I really gravitate to that kind of thing, and there is a lot of them out in this part of the world.
And we're going to talk about the book in a second for listeners. If you'd like to check this out while we're talking, it's 6-8, spelling the words out, 6-8-11.blogspot.com, and we'll promote the book a little bit here. But, as you've gone around and seen these tiny towns and watched these games, what's your kind of definition of how pure the game is at that level?
Well, you see, first of all, what you don't see is a lot of trash talk. The kids are pretty polite to the referees, their coaches. They're polite to each other, and there's a lot of yes sir and no ma'am, and so they have a great work ethic. They're pretty straightforward kids, and they love football and they like the rodeo and a few other things, but. It's in the high school football game is probably as big as when the rodeo comes to town in the summertime as well.
Okay, well, that kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. So now let's talk about some of your favorite stories. As you said, you kind of began it with a friend who's playing the game. I mean, do you have one town, one team, one game, or anything that stands out from the perspective of your lens where you just walked away saying, man, that was, it was everything it could have been. It couldn't have been anything more.
There's been a lot. Oh, man, there's been a lot. And every time I think that is it. And, probably one of the ones that really stand out to me was the six-man title game in Geraldine back in 2003. And it was just an unbelievable game. Of course, Geraldine is a town that's under 300 people and very reputable program at the time, and they still are. And they were playing Custer Millstone, which is in the eastern part of Montana, and Geraldine's pretty reputable, but they were down by, I can't remember, it was like 20 or 30-some points at halftime. And Geraldine came roaring back, went ahead. Custer tied them up. The game went into overtime, and the final score was 80-78. So it was a real track meet. But what was really interesting is Geraldine's place kicker. He was 10 for 10. In PATs, and in PATs in six-man football is 2 points because you only got 4 guys blocking and one guy's holding the ball and the other guy's kicking. So it's actually, if you can find somebody to kick at that level, it's pretty phenomenal. And he made, even though Custer Millstone scored more touchdowns, the difference was the Geraldine place kickers. Perfect kicking.
Wow, that does sound like a ball game. That's a good one. So now let's talk about the book, Temples. Where the game is played, and you become a self-publisher with this. So tell us a little bit how you go from this guy writing a blog to now putting out a book.
Well, a book has always kind of been in the back of my mind. It's been kind of a pipe dream, and I've always kind of held out that some publisher might rescue me from my torment here, but it just seemed apparent that maybe I should just do it myself. And I have a background in graphics and print production, so it's not much of a stretch to pull that off other than the time. So, and what I have done here is really just more or less a chapter out of a larger book, and I just thought that'd be a way to go. It would be taking a smaller bite instead of doing it all at once. So I'm hoping, unless that one little pipe dream does take hold, I'll probably next year release another chapter or two related to the whole 6-8-11 project.
Okay, so now how do people purchase this? What's the way to do it? Because we need to sell some of these here. Maybe we can get that publisher to come out of the woodwork there in Wyoming for you.
Well, I can give you all the addresses, but I'm really lucky. Probably just Google small-town high school football, and I come up at the very top of the list. And that takes you to my blog, and right at the top of the blog on the sidebar is a link to blurb where you can purchase the book.
I would highly, highly recommend this for people, too. And I'm not, again, I just don't say that. There was something when I first saw these pictures where I say, you know what, this guy's doing something special. Now, your photographs have been shown around the country, too, correct?
Right. I've had some exhibits down at Texas A&M, in Massillon, Ohio, one of the cradles of high school football, I guess you could say, up in Billings, Montana. And I've been published in some regional and national magazines as well. So, yeah.
So do you have a place out there, and then let's kind of go local and then national. Is there a place in Montana or Wyoming that you haven't shot where you're just kind of itching to go? And then I guess the second part would be, is there a place around the country, like you said, you showed some stuff in Massillon. Do you have any hopes of going outside of the little community there and doing some other stuff?
Well, you mean as far as attending games?
Shoot a field that you haven't had a chance to shoot at yet, where you think that if you get there, you're going to find some interesting stuff once you point a camera.
Probably eastern Colorado has really got an appeal to me out there in the wide open prairies. Probably going to be similar to eastern Montana, but I think it's going to be a little bit different. I went through the panhandle of Oklahoma this summer just to kind of scope out some of the fields there, and that was pretty interesting too. So my issue there is because I'm a full-time college instructor, I'd have to get some kind of sabbatical to pull that off, because those are pretty, those are a little bit more than just a weekend trip there.
Yeah, it is that's for sure. Well, Morgan, I've really, appreciated your photography through the years, and I'm just glad you can come on here, and I'm going to put on my blog, too, a way to purchase this, and really would love to see it take off, because you've done excellent work. So thank you for joining me on the show.
Well, it's been an honor. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay, and I'm wearing that professor tag to my grave now, I think.
You do that.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye.
Yep. That was Morgan Tyree of Small Town High School Football. It's a blog that has turned into a book. He's got some wonderful photographs there, so I will put that up on my blog tonight on how you can go to it. If you'd like to go to it now, you can go to, these are all spelling out the numbers, so 6SIX-8-11.blogspot.com. But like you said, if you Google him at Small Town High School Football, his name will come up, Morgan Tyree, and click on it, and you can purchase it. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. These are some amazing, amazing photographs. Going to take a break. When we come back, checking the headlines from around America. You are listening to High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network.
The Navy Seahawk helicopter has a lift capacity of over 6,000 pounds. But when it comes to helping those around the world who need it most, they lift the hopes of millions. To learn more about how the Navy is the best place to do great things, call 1-800-USA-NAVY or visit Navy.com. It will do you and the world a load of good. Navy. Accelerate your life.
And now back to High School Football America with your host, Jeff Fisher.
Thank you very much, Corey. We're going to wrap up here with a look at headlines tonight. Some football already underway around the country. And remember, check in on highschoolfootballamerica.com tonight to get all those scores and check throughout the weekend. We had a record-breaking weekend with hits and visitors to the website, so very happy with that. So keep on checking things out throughout the night. The I-95 Kickoff Classic already underway, 8 games over the period of 3 days. Teams coming from Virginia. It's mostly Baltimore and D.C., but some great games there. Of course, you heard Coach Bolden in Ohio at Colerain High School talk about the Herb Street Classic. It is back. It is back this weekend in Columbus, Ohio, with 4 games there, and then 4 also in Texas, and some big, interstate matchups in Ohio. There's a couple of just Ohio on Ohio, and then Monday in Columbus, it will be Ohio versus Georgia when Cleveland's Glenville takes on nationally ranked Camden County, and then another one will pit Ohio against Indiana when Centerville takes on Indianapolis Cathedral, a very good team in 4A out of Indianapolis. At Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, 4 games, all of them on Monday, beginning with Louisiana's Edna Carr facing Arlington Bowie. That's followed up by Cocoa. We were talking about them, of course, losing to Colerain and having their 38-game win streak snap. They're going to try and rebound from that loss against Dallas Skyline. Third game of the quadruple header, we'll see nationally ranked DeSoto from Texas taking on Oklahoma's Frederick Douglass High School. The only all-Texas matchup there this weekend will be Denton Geyer taking on Cedar Hill. There's also a huge matchup out in California to really get the regular season going in California. There were some games last weekend, but this weekend there is a kickoff classic taking place in Mission Viejo. Mission Viejo, a nationally ranked team with a real good running back. They got a lot of good skilled players there, and they will have they'll have 6 games over the course of 2 days. A couple of big teams from Utah coming into Bingham, one of the top teams in Utah, number 1 there right now, defending 5A champ with a 25-game win streak, will be in town. So that will be in California, Mission Viejo. So if you're in any of those areas over the weekend, you really want to check that out. Cypress Garces will play on Friday, and the Mission Viejo game, which is also tomorrow night, will be Centennial. That's out of Bakersfield. Saturday's games, just so you have them. Bakersfield against Timpview from Provo, Utah. Crenshaw from Los Angeles, a team that's been good over the last 2 years, lost a little bit of talent. We'll take on Alta, which is the number 3 team from Utah. We talked about Bingham taking on Orange Lutheran. And then really the nightcap is the big one as far as nationally ranked teams. Number 21, Oaks Christian from California, testing its mettle against number 22, Bellevue from Washington. Bellevue, a great program, 8 3A state championships in the last 10 years. So that's this weekend in Mission Viejo. And again, keep up with all the scores coming to highschoolfootballamerica.com. They are updated basically by the minute as they come in. So it's a good way to keep up with your favorite team. I want to remind you that next weekend we will be in Lowell, Michigan. We're going to be there probably midweek for what I believe is one of the biggest high school football stories in America when it comes to football community and football helping people in that community. The Pink Arrow Pride game will be played next Friday, the 9th of September. In 3 years, this team has put on pink jerseys, and the crowd is all in pink. You can check out the video from last year at highschoolfootballamerica.com. But this Pink Arrow Pride game, as it's called, has raised $750,000 to help people in the community that are fighting cancer. So it's not a research situation. This money will go if people cannot pay their medical bills, if they can't make mortgage payments because of their cancer treatment. They built a Gilda's Club within basically 6 months, which everybody said it would take 2 years. So we're going to be in Lowell, Michigan next week to kind of preview that game and really preview the event, because this is an incredible situation that I think will kind of get some national legs. Was on the air. Was on the phone today with the Today Show for NBC, and they're looking to come over there and really blow this up. This is a one-of-a-kind event in America that I think, when all is said and done, will probably catch on and be done around the country, emulated, and these people in Lowell are the salt of the earth. It's a town of about 4,000 people. The town is about 15 miles southeast of Grand Rapids. So next week, High School Football America, Thursday night starting at 7 o'clock, we'll be in Lowell, Michigan to tell you a little bit more about that. And head coach Noel Dean, it all started when he was watching a football game and saw Brett Favre's wife while she was battling breast cancer wearing a pink jersey. And he said, you know what, I think I'm going to put my team in pink, and we're going to go out there and we're going to try and raise some money. He thought, well, we'll raise a little bit. Well, guess what? 3 years later, $750,000 to the cause, which is really, really awesome. I want to wish some good luck this weekend to a couple of coaches we're going to have on the show in a couple of weeks. We're going to wish good luck this weekend to Corky Rogers from the Bowl School in Florida and Bob Paroli from 71st High School in North Carolina. Both of them at 399 victories for their career. So if they get a win, they will be at that magical 400 number. So good luck to both coaches, and we will have both coaches coming up soon. We did mention Mission Viejo, In 2 weeks, we will talk with Mission Viejo head coach Bob Johnson, who was named NFL Coach of the Year. Again, this weekend, a big game against Centennial. Next week, they're on the road to take on Don Bosco Prep, the #1 team in the nation. We, of course, talked to Greg Toll earlier this year. And if you ever want to hear any of the archive shows that we do here at High School Football America, please go to highschoolfootballamerica.com and click on the tab that says radio show, and you can listen to all past games. Well, we're running out of time, so we want to thank our sponsors for tonight's show. As always, Blitz Group handling the media for us, blitzgroupllc.com. I want to thank the High School Rudy Awards. They're now beginning to accept nominations. Go to highschoolrudyawards.com to learn more on that. And the National High School Coaches Association. Go to nhsca.com to learn about membership for that great organization. Also want to thank our coaches, our guest on the show tonight. It was a fun show. Terry Totten from Pittsburgh Central Catholic. He joined us. His team taking on the #1 3A team in Pennsylvania on Sunday. That's Archbishop Wood out of Philadelphia, the Vikings #1 in 4A. We spoke with Tom Bolden from Colerain out of Ohio. Big win over Cocoa this past weekend. They've got a big game coming up in 2 weeks. Nationally ranked battle between St. X and Colerain. So thanks to Coach Bolden for joining us. And we want to thank Morgan Tyree, the great photographer out of Wyoming and Montana, writing a book, Temples, where the game is played, and it's just wonderful. You can check that out online. Check us out on the blog there, and you can learn how to purchase that book. It is a great book of high school football, 6- and 8-man style from Montana and Wyoming. I want to thank Corey for producing everything back in the studios in Ohio, and remind you that we will be back next week from Lowell, Michigan, talking Pink Arrow Pride football and a whole lot more. Hope you enjoyed the show. This is High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network. I'll talk to you next week.